Hey, everybody, welcome to Every Damn Friday. Man, we've been doing this for a while now. I was just telling Aaron, this will be number 21 when it releases. So I don't know if I've ever stuck to anything for 21 weeks in a row. I definitely didn't do dry January at all. Hey, for those all listening, I've got a pillar of the Louisville music community. He'll shake his head and say, "No, I'm not." But he's one of the stalwarts. He's multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, Mr. Aaron Bibelhauser. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, cheers. It's good to be here with you.
Hey, man. So I've been real lucky. Aaron has, he is so good at so many things that over the last couple of years, as I've been doing solo records, I don't have a band. So I'll be like, hey, I need some piano or I need some of this or whatever. And he's been gracious enough to lend his talents. And since we're all post COVID and we figured out how to do things in quarantine, it
Yep.
kind of makes that stuff fun and easy now.
Oh yeah.
But how you been, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. And I love playing on your recordings and other people's too. It's kind of becoming a bigger and bigger part of what I'm doing. Being music, hustling music full time, and that's probably the first talking point. Maybe is I do not. I'm an electrician by trade, and I do not work a day job anymore. I'm hustling all things music, which sort of equates to keeping your overhead low or taking a vow of poverty.
Well,
Yeah. But it's
or
working.
both.
It's working.
But hey, and that's the people that are watching. I think that's an important thing. It's I've had different types of artists on here. I've had some visual artists. I've had obviously musicians. And for everybody, that is a that means something different to say that
Hmm.
that you do it for a living.
Yeah.
Obviously, I quit teaching and did it for 4 or 5 years, and it was its own thing, and it brought its challenges, but it was pretty special to wake up in the morning knowing that you had to get to work, and when
It
people
feels
asked you
pretty.
what do you do, I could say I'm a musician or I'm an
Yeah.
artist.
Yep. Yeah. It
Um,
feels pretty. It feels pretty good to be in that position now. And I never had a problem with leaning on a job to make things work in the meantime. But it feels pretty good. But I think that a lot of people maybe miss their opportunity to really excel by not focusing enough of their time and energy. And if you got a full time job and or kids and private school and two truck payments and stuff, you got to keep all that going. You got to keep that stuff going. But nobody at the end of their life as a musician looks back and says, "Well, I wish I'd kept working that job instead of playing music."
well,
Most of them wouldn't.
and I feel like you're one of those guys too, where you're not just trying to you're not trying to hit that one song that gets a million streams and you retire.
It's
Like
a slow crawl, man. I'm
we're,
good
we're
with.
both we're both those guys that when we are 80 years old, if we can still move, we'll still
Yeah.
be writing and playing and singing and recording.
Yeah,
So
you'll be sending me an email. Hey, man, I need you to play piano on this.
now they will be on like Neuralink, and
Yeah,
I'll through telepathy, I'll say, "Here's the song," and
yeah.
you'll send. Um,
It's a good thing I won't be able to move. I'll be in the chair. It's like,
hey, so how did you said you're an electrician, but where did music start? I know you and your brother play together. Has that been was that where
we
it
didn't we
started?
didn't play music together till we were young adults. Ironically, because most especially twin siblings, grew up with it, but we didn't. I grew up playing the piano, and I took lessons from like fourth grade on, but I didn't play any music on any other instrument or with other people ever until I was like 19, 18 or 19. I started playing banjo. My uncle had gifted me a banjo, and that he thought he was going to learn as a retirement project.
Yeah.
And anyway, he gave it up pretty quickly, and he thought, well, I bet Aaron would take to this, because I was into hillbilly music even though I was playing piano. And so I was gravitating towards something unique, banjo or dobro or something else, not playing guitar yet. And at that point, Adam and I started singing together, and it just everything sort of was a blur at that point because that was the magic for me, was being able to sing with my twin brother.
So at 19, so we're talking 10 or 12 years ago, right?
Yeah, a handful more than that, but yeah,
But yeah, so I mean, what obviously he doesn't do it full time.
he doesn't. No, I mean, and but he hustles all the gigs, the jobs that I do pretty much. but he just doesn't. He's not. He's completely hands off on the business side of things. He doesn't write songs anymore, and he doesn't. He doesn't. We all play a role in arranging a song once we come together as a band, but I've kind of got an idea of what's going to happen before I bring it to the guys.
That's very Dave Grohl of you.
Well,
hey, look, I look. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I can hear orchestration is not the right term, maybe, but when you write a song, like it's not fair, but you're like, I know what the drums need to sound like, and I really would like this guitar part. Anna, will you please play this? I'll hum the fiddle part.
You know what kind of feel you want. You may not know every note and the spacing between them, but that's the beautiful thing about the guys that I'm playing with. I already mentioned Adam, my twin brother, but the other two guys, Steve Cooley and Jeff Guernsey, are sort of legends. I mean, when you said pillars of the community, that's the guys I think of.
Well, but it probably takes 4 pillars. So
well,
definitely Cooley.
I feel like those two guys have so much a wide swath of talent that I can manage an arrangement and a lot of the micromanage some of the ideas within the song, and then still get this amazing output of love from them. I mean, my goodness, that it's like having there are 2 knife fighters, and we're over here.
Well, it is a luxury because they both played professionally and kind of did the thing, and you kind of, and I'm speaking for them, but you kind of given them a new life in music, I think.
Yes, definitely, and just another chapter,
Because Steve Cooley, I knew him as the curmudgeon guy at the counter at Guitar Emporium. Was like, hey, what are you doing today, Josh?
We call that the old Steve.
Yes, and you could tell he was just like, you are dumb, kind of like probably like how Timmons was at the record store when some little cute kid came in wanting a New Kids on a Block record.
Yeah.
I'd come in and Cooley be like, do you even know how to play guitar?
Yeah.
But you're lucky because Louisville is a hard place.
Yeah.
Louisville is we always really struggle with Louisville because they want to be weird as hell, and they're very protective of, like, you can't be too much of this or too much of that. You really got to keep
right.
You got to keep the weird, and you land in a real neat place because obviously it's bluegrass, but I don't know, it's not either. But it's not. Yeah. But it doesn't feel contemporary either.
Yeah, I kind of call it, I guess, the way you're describing it, when I think of other artists that I feel that way about, I think of it as like edgier, pushing the envelope a little bit more. Not contemporary is sort of, a modernization of a standardization. You're like, okay, oh well, if you're not a purist, then you're this in this lane, and you're going to align more with this camp. But I feel like I just kind of fall a little outside of all that. I'm way too hillbilly to be rock and roll, and I'm way too country to be really any kind of rock and roll.
But you've been doing this. I feel like you've been doing it longer than, say, a Billy Strings in that lane.
Yeah.
But what has a guy like Billy done for your kind of music, do you think?
Oh man, I love Billy Strings. First of all, I love him as a person. He's just a wonderfully sweet guy, but he's an amazing talent and the way underrated even by the people that love him. I don't think they realize how good he is. And it's not just good. There's a certain punch and attack and aggressiveness that is sort of missing. And it's not to say he's better than anybody else, but it's just nobody else sounds like Billy to me.
He's incendiary. Like, it's like,
yeah,
like I mean, I've stood on the front row at Bourbon Beyond and watched him.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in that edgier category where he's like, he can come out and play 35 minutes of just straight up the middle bluegrass that you would hear at Bean Blossom in the 1990s. He would, or older than that, but he could do that and then play like the slightly metal stuff that he's playing in between, and then all the original songwriting is amazing too. And he's got some, but the thing about Billy that he's really done, and I wanted to first emphasize his talent, but his team is really, I mean, he assembled the right team, and he timed it all right, and he's pretty amazing. And he's got there's like, there's hundreds of people behind the scenes in what he's doing. So
Well, and this isn't a Billy Strings interview, so I don't, you know, but but I do feel like um, he's definitely he's doing exactly the way he wants, and I feel like with you, I get that too because you'll write songs for other people. Obviously you've had a lot of success songwriting, people cutting your songs. It seems like every time uh, I look at Instagram, you've got another song on Bluegrass Today countdown on the charts that may or may not be yours. Um, but at the same time, I don't look at you as one of those bluegrass purist guys either. So it's
yeah, I mean, I love all of it. That's the problem with me. I'm like, I don't focus in one particular direction, even within this niche genre. I mean, it's a pretty obscure portion of music lovers love the kind of music that I love, and even within that, I'm kind of in this tangled up
you're
web.
still a weirdo.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah. I love old trad bluegrass music, and I also love, the stuff that was cutting edge in the 70s, which now feels traditional to me. But you keep going and going, and I love portions of all of it. So it's all had that impact, not just bluegrass either, other
But I do
music.
I hate traditionalists because it's like um, we every generation says this isn't like it used to be,
Yeah.
and you know I I kind of look at like country music for instance, and I'm loving the impact that like '90s country has had on young artists,
Yep.
like a Zach Top or some of those guys.
Yeah.
But I'm like that music never went away, and
Right.
it and it's they're not that was just what he grew up listening to. It was his influence. He's not copying it, and I think you're doing your own thing with a very traditional style of music,
Oh man, I
which I
appreciate.
think is
Thank you.
wonderful. Um, I I want to talk about the songwriting a little bit. Um, for the people who are listening, the tens of people that will watch this, um, like who are some of the other people that you've written with? I know you do some co-writes and
I do some co-writing. I've written with Dale Ann Bradley and this guy Mylan Miller, who's written a bunch of smash bluegrass hits. Mark Brink is what he goes by. There's a pile of other writers. Recently, I've been writing with John Cowan, which has been really special. We've always had a sort of distant acquaintanceship for many years now, but like just sort of got to know each other real well. So that's been a real treat too to
for the
get to.
people listening at home, John Cowan is a freaking monster.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
if you've ever, Sam Bush gets all the credit for Newgrass Revival, uh, but it's one of those things where without that voice,
yeah. He
you know,
was that sort of defining voice, and his bass playing too. But the defining voice that put them up into like a major record label deal when they were getting ready to
yeah.
to go with Capitol and all that. And it was, I mean, that was the voice that was really carrying them through. But everybody played a part, of course.
Well, and
That was amazing.
if somebody had sounded like if there had been somebody who sounded like Ralph Stanley singing, there,
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't going to cross over into the popular, the mainstream music scene at all.
So what was that like getting John in the studio? Was that
It's
something he
pretty
did
awesome.
remotely, or did you all get together?
I got together with him. I drove down to Nashville and met him actually just north of town there, Sean Sullivan's studio, and we overdubbed his vocal there. We didn't record the whole band down there that day, but yeah, it was nice to get together in person. And he sang on a couple of songs on our record. One was a old bluegrass tune that they recorded with Newgrass years ago, and the other one was an original song of mine, which was way more of a country song. Like there's no banjo, it's pedal steel and piano. It could be a Josh Mitchum record,
There you
but
go.
except with my sloppy singing on it. So on that song, I was like, man, I just adore John Cowan's voice so much, and I look up to him that I felt like I was doing him a disservice by having my scratch vocal on his headphones. And I just said, why don't we just why don't you just pretend you never heard the melody of this song, even, you know? And he
Yeah,
kind of he riffed his own little melody with that it sounded so much like John Cowan, it was uncanny, you know. But
yeah.
it was pretty
He
amazing. And
does a. It's kind of like I was telling my dad about Landman. I was like,
yeah,
he's like, "How's Billy Bob?" I was like, "He is the best Billy Bob Thornton that there
yeah,
ever be."
right.
It, but yeah, I mean, I actually just saw. My dad's a big Doobie Brothers fan,
Oh yeah,
so we went and watched the Doobies at the Palace. I guess it's been a year or so ago, and Dad is not a. Yeah, he'll be watching this. You know, he loved the Doobies, so he didn't. He
yeah,
probably didn't understand the Newgrass
right.
connection. But I was like,
Yeah,
that guy
Cal's been
right
with him,
there.
I think, maybe the longest running bass player because he's been with him like 20 years now this
Yeah.
time. And then he did another stint, I think, in the 90s with him. But he, that I was a huge Doobie Brothers fan when I was a little, like when I
Hell
was
yeah.
a teenager. I thought it was just enough country and just enough rock and like and hippie sort of energy, but also sort of,
It
I don't
wasn't Grateful Dead, but it
know,
was.
right. It was a little more slick than that. I mean, they had Warner Brothers and they had massive budgets for making records. It was, and they had huge producing
I'm
team,
gonna.
but it
I'm
was
gonna digress. I'm gonna tell you my Sam Bush story.
okay.
So, I've met Sam Bush, and I've played with it, or I haven't played with him, but I watched him play a couple times since this point. But I was in college. I was a musical idiot. You know, my favorite band when I was 12 years old was Boys to Men, and you know,
It's so
it,
hard to say goodbye.
it is. But but I was doing this exploration, and I was like you. I didn't really start playing until I got to college. You know, I sang in chorus, and I listened to popular radio, and I listened to stuff Dad liked. But anyway, so we're at a club in Bowling Green, and I'm already playing in a band, and we're playing Skinner and all this kind of stuff, and trying to be original. And we go and watch this band called Duck Butter, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
everybody's like, "Oh yeah, this is a great band." Kenny Lee plays his Budweiser guitar, um, and I didn't understand how important this band was. There was a guy playing an SG, and he was crushing it. I'm like, man, this guy's a hell of a guitar player. This is awesome. Someone's like, yeah, that's a guy named Sam Bush. He's really a mandolin player. I'm like, really? And said, yeah,
he's
the
really
guy
a
playing
fiddle
bass
player.
over there is Byron House, and the guy playing the organ is Reese Winans. He used to play with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and this was just in some little old shitty bar in Bowling Green.
That's
And
great.
so, but then I went down the rabbit hole and was like, oh, the boys from Breckinridge County, got into Newgrass and started. But it was funny that the first time I saw him, he was playing SG, just like crushing it.
Yeah, he's a killer electric guitar player. Yeah, and that slide he plays like a national resonator mandolin too. That's pretty amazing. You wouldn't think that you could get that kind of tone and sort of intonation on a scale that small with a slide, but he does it.
Well, he's masterful.
Yeah.
Uh, but so
And
talking about playing,
he's gonna be on this record too. That's what we
really,
should segue. Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna be on this record. And I don't want to get too excited and like tell too much of the backstory, but it's a really cool cover of an old song that Sam used to perform when he was in the Bluegrass Alliance
okay,
before the Newgrass Revival was a thing, but he never made his own recording of it. So it's really cool. And a lot of those characters that were in the Alliance were still they were old guys when I was coming of age. They're gone now, but like Danny Jones was around, and I met Buddy Spurlock, the banjo player, and so it's really cool to connect the dots between my coming of age as a bluegrass guy, which by the way, Steve Cooley and Jeff Guernsey were right there in that scene too.
yeah, yeah.
But it's cool to connect all those dots with Sam Bush and his history and trajectory or whatever.
Well, and I feel like that's something too about you. You have been a connector, you know,
That's
um,
that's the hope.
right? But
That's
I
my hope.
mean,
Yeah.
not just with fans and stuff like that. It's like you've kind of been able to go, you know what, this person has this real. Can I add this important piece to this? And instead of it just being Aaron Bibelhauser show, because you could do that too. You could hire guys but it's like it's a very curated thing that
Yeah.
you.
Well, yeah, and back to this record, our last full length record. Well, we had a live record just recently, but our last full length record was all these old brother duets, and the record was called Close Harmony, and it was just the theme there was just to get this batch of songs, and it just be Adam and I, our voices, and a real, honest sort of presentation of these old trad songs. And we're doing the opposite on this record. We're doing like mostly original material. There's a couple of covers, but the covers are connected to guest artists, and so are some of the originals. So we'll have, in addition to the regular four of us that are in the band, we'll have Dale Ann Bradley on a couple songs, John Cowan on a couple songs. Did I lose video for a second?
No, you're back. You're back.
Oh yeah. Anyway, yeah. Dale Ann Bradley, John Cowan, Michael Cleveland, John Gage, Scott T. Smith, Sam Bush, and it's really Danny Markham. There's a bunch of great other artists around that that we're kind of featuring on these songs, and that is part of the deal, trying to connect with our community.
Now it, without being presumptuous, pretentious, and I mean, is there aspirations of this record being a significant hit? I mean, with having these people, I mean, what do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's room for it. Matter of fact, there's a couple of opportunities for maybe some attention for collaboration. There's a couple of, I don't get too worried about trying
I
to
know,
anything get an award, but I would like to make an impact on our community, and so to be relevant among my peers is important to me. So I do think that way in a way, but only to a small extent, because the majority of it is I'm very pragmatic and practical about my music career. I already talked about how it's sort of a vow of poverty to do this for a living, but it's also,
look, there's absolutely nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you being validated, like,
yeah,
and pushing that genre forward.
I think part of my objective of making a record is to keep having that impact more than it is to try to get anybody's attention. But I'd be grateful if we just had enough airplay and record sales to where it made it sustainable to keep doing it more,
Well,
and it would up, if we got a little more recognition, it would up our ask at a festival date or a big venue or something. So yeah, sure.
what you talking about? Being getting noticed and trying to grab attention. What you're pretty present on social media, and you post videos and you do all that kind of stuff. How has that changed your approach to what you do? As it is for a living.
It's changed it a lot, but it also just feels like a never-ending task for me. I mean, you can probably see it in my eyes that I'm like exhausted from having to keep up with.
I'm going to play. Here's a little piece of a thing, and
yeah, I'm going to play. Talking, making the videos is fun, but like just having to keep up with it and reposting event posters and Instagram pages, ads and everything else, managing all that stuff. It's quite a task, and it seems like every time there's a new platform, there's advantages to it, but then there's also another task for you to do. So,
well, I've kind of locked into. I'm an Instagram and Facebook connected together guy.
Yep.
I might post it on TikTok if I have the time.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like I had somebody tell me, they're like, "Yes, you may be tired of the advertisement or the repost, but most people haven't seen it yet."
Right.
And you get tired of something long before the public gets tired of it.
Yeah, I can hear something you're talking about. Some of our mentors and peers, Michael Cleveland told me a long time ago, and I can't remember who had given him this advice, but he's like, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to be the one doing most of it, because you can't expect anybody else to believe in what you're doing more than you do.
Well, so, and this is no shade at anybody I've ever played with, but at this point, as I put music out, it is 100% me. And so therefore I have no problem sending the cold email, doing the awkward, approach, because it's not going to embarrass anybody but me if it flops, and I won't be embarrassed because I don't give a shit.
Right.
What do I got to lose?
Right.
And I really don't have anything to lose. So
I'm with you there, man. I'm with you there.
But I do think so. Like, you just released a single. At the recording of this, it released yesterday. The one with John. I've done 4 singles in a row. leading up to a release this month, and I've probably had more. It has done more for me than most of the stuff that I've done before. Like trying to like hold it close to the vest and all that. It's like no. I think the new model is you have to have stuff out there all the time. If you release 3 albums in a year, I don't know if that would be enough for some people. You know?
Yeah, it's this steady stream of music and content, and all this stuff, and every time you book a show, you're like, there's some expectation of like, are you going to make a bunch of custom reels? Are you going to invest in a Facebook, Instagram ad, etc.? But it does seem to keep people's attention long. The more you beat them over the head with it, the better. And that's why we're stringing out singles for this record, actually, and not. This record will probably have 11 songs on it, and by the time it drops, which is not going to happen until probably October, but by the time it drops, we will probably have already dropped about 7 of those songs as singles, maybe 6 or 7. So
Look,
roughly,
I'm gonna already have. I'll probably have, depending on how this single Friday goes, the one that you play piano on. Um, I'll already have 10 or 15,000 spins
right?
on a record before it releases.
Yeah,
And those people will have already saved, those songs maybe on their Spotify or their whatever. And
yep,
it's people aren't into albums anymore. I still want an album. Like I still like a full, like thought out,
Well, yeah, part of the strategy is just doing both, because you get other people. If all the people that are interested in our music are valuable, or they have their own way of doing it, but there's
yeah.
certain values to both ways. So, as long as you keep all these singles sort of relevant and in a category that works as a full record, and then you drop the press vinyl, man. I mean, we're selling more vinyl than I ever did CDs, ever.
And that's a weird thing too.
I don't
Like
know why. I love it. I mean,
it,
I'm so grateful for it.
it's all you talking about keeping overhead low. That's not the way to go.
No,
Uh,
it's very expensive.
it's
Very
like
expensive.
I don't know. It's like going to the dentist.
If you
I
don't even
did.
count the production cost of making a record and just manufacturing, you end up spending about 50% of what you could sell it for just to manufacture it. So,
But it is a thing, and I do think like my kids. I've got a junior and senior in high school, not to mention
I
my
love it.
12-year-old, and they, Will got a rap album of someone I don't know who it is for
Oh,
Christmas.
was it this new group here that I've got here? Was it
And it was
it was
not Flat and
Platin
Scruggs.
Scruggs?
It was not Flat and Scruggs. But my daughter got the Chronic for her birthday on vinyl. But like they'll go. She went to Megan Maroney's show and bought
vinyl, no
bought the
way.
vinyl at the
Love
merch
it.
booth. So I do think it. Again, I think if Dallas Moore said it best, just don't go away, and what you do will find its tribe.
Yep, that's true, man. I mean, I'd rather be selling vinyl than just t-shirts and koozies, man.
And there's a place for that. But
I
that's
agree.
your. A lot of times
And we
I
believe me,
will.
we sell plenty of t-shirts and koozies too.
Well, like I still do CDs, but generally what I'll do, I'll set them up by the tip jar and be like, you know what? If you give me a $5 tip, take a CD with you,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I would rather you take something with you if you're feeling like tipping me.
Mhm.
Take this and give it to somebody or whatever. But it had it is the Wild West, and I feel like you are one of those people that has figured out a way to kind of navigate those seas.
Yeah, and I think part of it is just, well, the raw fact that I just wouldn't be me if I wasn't doing it. That's the main driving point. But it's also the fact that I've kind of diversified what I can do. Like I write songs and pitch songs. You can't do that and make a living. But
Right.
and I play in a bluegrass band touring. You can't really do that and make a living. I part-time radio DJ. I'm a producer for other people. I play on their sessions. And you can't do any of those individual things for a living unless you're like virtuoso class person like Michael Cleveland or something. But
Yeah.
but even still, it takes a wide variety of
Hey, even those
revenue
guys. I
streams.
mean,
So,
Brent Mason, the guy who played on all the hits for Alan Jackson, all those guys,
yep,
he still just got $1,000 a session,
yep,
and that dried up, and he's
yeah,
still the baddest guy down there, right?
yep,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's like with me, and then you also have to think about where is my time best spent
yep.
in those areas.
Oh, believe me, yeah. You're looking at there's a piano there, but then I've got these pedal steel guitars back here, which that's my old multi chord that I played on your records. But there's a
Okay.
new one, a new old one in the back, and it's like if I spend enough time to become an expert on that thing, I will never be able to write another song.
Yeah.
I can become functional and practical, and like find my own way of doing it, but focusing in one direction on one thing just has never worked for me. So I had to do all of them.
Well, I finally kind of did the math, and even when I was playing music full time with Jericho Woods, and we were playing every week, 150 shows, whatever. Uh, I made more money selling paintings than I did
Yeah,
playing music. So it was like I had to keep doing that throughout that, and even now, it's like I'm better off recording music at home and painting in the
yeah.
time I could be out. You
There
know,
is a little sweet spot though, man, that you can get in, especially hustling the kind of music that we're playing. There's a sweet spot you can get in where you don't have to say yes to everything because you got a little bit of sustainability already.
yeah.
But you don't have to go down and beat down the road and play all the worst gigs ever. But you
Well,
also
and bluegrass is
you get to be a
special.
little bit pickier and choosier about what you do, and you figure out other ways to recoup the revenue that aren't
And I
road
think I think
gigs.
bluegrass is special too in that sense that you can be huge in bluegrass,
Yeah,
but
huge
if
in
you play at the
bluegrass,
Monarch, you might still only have 50 people there.
right?
But the festival is lucrative. You
Yeah,
know, if you go play Telluride, you're going to make a good little piece.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's enough of those festivals you can play 10 or 12 or 15 or 20.
There's a lot, but then there's geography too. It costs a lot to move people around and lodge them and everything.
You got to
Right
feed
now,
Guernsey, and that's probably
it's
expensive too.
he don't eat much. He's little.
I was gonna say I thought that's why he wore overalls so he could just eat whatever he wanted.
Yeah. I love those guys, man. And we have such a good time. Those guys have become like family to us. I mean, they're not, we joke about it because I used to say, we're the Bibelhauser brothers and these are our creepy uncles. And then it evolved to where they were our two dads,
Yeah.
which Adam told the flight attendant that when we went to New York, when I thought that was funny. But now we've kind of blended the two, and it's like might be like one of those deals where it's aunt aunt daddy and uncle mommy.
Well, but but how that's the other thing too. It's like I had a lot more fun in the van,
Yeah.
backstage, in the green room, after the show, sometimes than I did on the stage.
Well, somebody could argue, like if I was trying to hit that sort of not, just even a parallel path to like what the Billy Strings is doing, like Adam, I'd probably be better off with younger pickers playing and singing with us. But it's like, man, these two guys are so amazingly good, and they have decades more experience at this than us, and they're easy to go up and down the road with. They're not going to leave and say, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. You got to find a new banjo player. I'm
Yeah,
going to go play with, Russell Moore or Allison Krauss or something. It's like,
they weren't looking for this gig when you called them.
man, those guys are just grateful to be part of the family. We're really having, it's like walking around with $1,000,000 in my pocket to be able to go up and down the road and talk them into coming to play music with me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you said you don't have a ton of shows booked. What's in next couple months? What's the
Yeah,
horizon?
we got a couple things real quick. February, I think it's February 15th. We're going to be at a place called Mercurio's in
I
Louisville,
saw
and
that.
it'll be our first gig in like almost 70 days because Adam is recovering from a little surgery on his inner ear and couldn't be around the loud PA noise and stuff. So, but February 15th, we'll be over there at Mercurio's. It's like near the Hikes Point neighborhood.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that'll be a fun time. And there's tables and it's a restaurant and bar. So there's like, and it's got a really nice stage, and they got a live stream thing of the program too, usually.
Okay.
So it's a pretty cool spot, but it's sort of an up and coming sort of fixture for Louisville
I was gonna
music.
say it's when you posted it, that's the first I'd heard of it.
Yeah, and it's sort of a place where you could. There's certain demographics that won't come by a ticketed show to Zanzibar where they want to they're going to have to stand up,
Yeah,
which I like that show too as much as anything. But then there's certain people that don't like a listening room environment like the Monarch, and there's a certain amount of people that are just going to want to come out and get a bucket of beers and
yeah,
some apps and hang out and watch music, and it just makes
yeah.
it accessible for them.
Well, good festivals on the horizon.
We got some cool festivals. The regional stuff we've kind of tapped out because we did so much stuff last year. Some stuff on the horizon. We got some cool road dates in West Virginia and in Wisconsin. One of those is the Wisconsin Bluegrass Bash, and that's going to be a really fun time. So lots of stuff out on the horizon, but as far as the announcement and having contracts on all of them,
Right. Yeah,
it's a work in progress. It's
okay.
January.
If people wanna see what's going on, where do they need to go?
Yeah, Bibelhauser is awfully hard to spell, so you can just go to bluegrassevolution.com. And that's sort of the big umbrella of our branding, I guess, for us. It's like the Bluegrass Evolution website has a tab for Bibelhauser Brothers, sort of the landing page, and it has my songwriting stuff, DJ stuff, collaborations, and other.
And tell them about your show. Tell them where can they listen to that at?
Yeah, so I'm a part-time radio DJ for 3 hours a week on Sunday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. That's WFPK 91.9 on the FM dial, WFPK.org.
And they've
the live
been
stream.
so good to local musicians. Laura would always play my stuff anytime I sent it to her.
They're wonderful about it. Matter of fact, I sent Laura an email today saying, "Hey, we got a new single out yesterday." So
you better put this on.
Well, yeah, I'm not. I will not play. I usually won't play anything that I recorded myself or that I wrote that even somebody else recorded. It's just like I just don't feel good about it. But I've got some friends at the station that will spin stuff.
There you go.
Support the scene.
There you go. Well, man, thank you so much for always being available to me. Your answer is always yes, and I appreciate that.
Let's do it, man.
Well, and you never take enough money.
I'm gonna do it the other way around next time. I'm gonna get you to sing on something. Probably.
Come on.
So you got to record it here. If
hey, Louisville is 50 minutes away. Like it ain't no big deal for me. And we need to write some songs too.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I need to get you all back down to the barn. I loved having you here.
You said I always say yes. So.
Yep, there you go. See? Well, guys, thank y'all so much for listening. Go check out Aaron, Bibelhauser Brothers, Bluegrass Evolution. If you're looking for a good song, he's your guy. If you need somebody to play steel or piano or banjo or guitar or sing, he's your guy too. Bob's your uncle. But thanks for watching Every Damn Friday, and we'll see you again next time.
Appreciate you, Josh.
Thanks, buddy.